Hello and welcome. My name is Amy. I'm so glad to have you here, whether this is your first time or you've been here before. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're talking our vibration because this has been a big focus for me lately. I love talking with you about it because I feel like it opens a conversation. It also allows us both to kind of reflect a little bit. I know that I always learn a little more when I'm hearing from someone else's experience. One of the reasons I've been motivated to focus on this lately is because I've done some pretty hardcore shifts in my meditation practice specifically. And I'm having some really cool new experiences. I feel as if I've done a lot of work in other areas, including my vibration and making sure that I am raising it. However, I feel like I kind of need to hone in on it a little more, get a little more detailed with it, kind of apply more. I'm trying to use the word devotion over discipline lately because I wanted to have like a good feeling around it, but exactly that, like taking it more seriously, being more devoted to this and not being lazy about it. An example being when I'm meditating, being more actively conscious of when my thoughts come in and when I lose focus in the meditation. I've made so much progress since I started meditating years ago, but this is just an example that we always have room for improvement. And as my meditation evolves and grows and expands, so does how I'm showing up to it. So I was listening to this audiobook. The author says that there are 3 main things for you to focus on to actually raise your vibration. And he said that these are your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. I love this. I think it kind of summarizes all of it. And so I want to say that one of the hardest parts about raising our vibes is that it is fully an inside job. So often, I think one of the things that gets so many of us hung up, and it was me for a long time, is that we believe that the things and experiences, situations, people, whatever it is around us are making us feel a way. No one else is doing that. It is us. It is our conditioning. It is what we have learned. It is our repetition of things that we don't think we have control over, and we do. Specifically, our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. I have said in a few of my videos that 2 of the things I think that if we all stop doing this, it would just change everything. And this applies to any topic, but it's making excuses and blaming other people. Some people aren't necessarily in this space, but I also think as humans, we naturally do this, especially if we're not aware of it. And even when we work on it, it can still happen, especially in topics that maybe aren't as prevalent in our lives. And then all of a sudden something happens. Your vibrations are your responsibility, and they are a reflection of essentially how much awareness you have to yourself. If you are constantly surrounded by negative people or in a job that's just totally stressful or taking all your time, you don't have time to do anything else, then naturally you're probably going to have kind of a low vibration because you're influenced so much by the people around you. And as we become more aware of these things, we start saying, okay, I'm going to work on this on a daily basis, but that can sometimes lead to leaving a job, friendships shifting, relationships ending, starting, all sorts of things. This is both micro and macro. And as you start to tune in more and more to what your vibration is, although yes, it is an inside job, the things around us are influencing, and they're also a reflection of what our vibe is, because like attracts like. This is one of the most powerful universal laws. This is what manifestation is. We are a magnet. So we are getting back what we're putting out. So that means if you feel like you have a lot of really negative or toxic relationships, that's not just the other people. That is a reflection of the energy you're putting out. And maybe you're not necessarily the toxic person, But if you don't have boundaries in place, if you aren't using your communication, if you are people pleasing or doing these other things that aren't necessarily bad, but they're not serving you and they're not serving the people around you, then your experiences in life and environments are a reflection of that. And the thing is, we can't wait to say, oh, well, when this person stops this behavior or starts acting a certain way, then I'll feel better and I'll do better. We have to take full responsibility for where we are at and what we're feeling. So kind of bringing this back into the internal aspect of it, our thoughts, okay? Are your thoughts just constantly repetitive? Are you identifying fully with your ego and as if that is what's guiding you through life? If so, your thoughts are probably not very high vibe. They're just not. This can look like judgment, both to others and yourself. It is really seeing things with a glass half empty, kind of expecting the worst and really not being able to enjoy anything if it's not the way you expect it to be. And very much can be where we live in depression, which is looking backwards, and anxiety looking forwards. So these are all examples of, first of all, being ran by your ego and really having those lower vibes. Now, this has been like the biggest part of personal work that I have done, learning how I can be in charge of what my thoughts are and realizing that so many of my repetitive thoughts and beliefs are only there in my mind because it's what I witnessed growing up. It's what I heard or learned or was exposed to growing up. And when I became old enough to do something about it, I didn't realize I could. When we think something enough times over and over, it becomes a belief. And then those beliefs create how we feel. So this is also where emotions come into play. Emotions are so powerful. They matter. They are like a compass for us. They help guide us. But when we allow our emotions to be bigger than us, just like our egos, a lot of times those emotions are not serving us. So for me, another huge part of my growth and raising my own vibration has been recognizing my emotions, taking responsibility for when I've been reactive or taken things personally. And then it's like, well, I feel this way, so this must be the truth. When really, what if I just dug a little bit deeper and actually look at why am I feeling this way? How much of this is really what I feel about something and how much of this is just me conditioned to have these responses? Perhaps I've never witnessed something else to realize it can be different. That is, again, just so much of the work that I have done over the last decade, especially, of saying, I don't like when I feel this way. I don't like that this is one of my responses or beliefs. I want to look at this. I want to do something about it. I want to make the effort and take responsibility and say, actually, this is who I am at my core. Even though I learned this elsewhere, I've decided to show up from my truth today. And this is where actions come into play, because it's one thing to become aware of your thoughts and then also to become aware of how those thoughts make you feel. But it's another thing to do something about that, to put yourself in situations that are increasing your vibration or decreasing it or just keeping you stagnant. That also is up to us. That is our responsibility. Where I am applying this in my own life right now is big time in the workplace, because I am very challenged there, but also I feel like I've really been able to detach myself where I am not being reactive and I'm not feeling like I am stuck, even though I don't want to be there right now. But really just making the choice every single day to stay in my vibration as much as I can and not be influenced by anybody around me. That is not easy, you guys. This is not easy work. But it is so worth it, because the alternative is that the time passes and we just still feel the way we felt, and most likely miserable, because we're always either moving forward or backward. So if you're not doing anything to move forward, you're probably moving backwards, even if it doesn't seem so obvious, because they are little micro movements. Those micro movements going forward will be even more impactful. So putting a little effort into it is so worth it. the other way that I'm applying this right now is when I'm not working in the rest of my life, really tuning in to how I'm feeling, how I'm showing up, being more creative simply because it brings me joy, being in nature, making sure that I am connected. And when I am meditating, which is a huge part of my practice right now, making the effort to increase my consciousness while I'm meditating, to become aware of the thoughts, and when they come, recognize them. I like to, at the start of my meditation, tell my ego, you can step aside. You don't need to be here right now. Everything's going to be fine. As much as I can, bringing that conscious awareness back to the present moment, even if it feels like it's over and over and over, because that is ultimately why I'm meditating in the first place. When I first started meditating, I couldn't do more than a minute, barely a minute. I actually talk about that in my last video, but I had something in me that kept me showing up to this. And trust me, this has not been a linear path, but I have continued to show up. And where I'm at in my meditations and the experiences that I'm having are just amazing. And I believe I am a healer. I know I'm a healer. I know that I am supposed to do so much more when it comes to my spiritual work here. In order for me to connect more to that, I need to be devoted to this experience. I need to take my meditations seriously and know that so much of my growth in this area comes from that. And so when I'm committing that time, really being conscious of how I'm showing up and allowing my vibration to get higher and higher and higher. And again, this is not easy work. That is why we live in a world where most people are run by their ego. But getting to the other side of these things and having experiences where you get that taste of what it feels like to do this, totally worth it. I have suffered from so much anxiety and depression in my life. It's been hard for me. For me, it has been 100% my spiritual growth and my connection to something deeper that has given me relief. Other things have helped, but this has been the primary thing. And that is why I keep talking about this, because it doesn't matter where you're at, what your experience is with anxiety or depression or having none. We are all human here having this experience. We are spiritual beings having the human experience, and we all have struggles with that. And it's not easy, but it also doesn't have to be so challenging and so painful, and we don't have to have so much suffering. But in order to get to that place, we have to become conscious and aware and continue to increase our vibration. Here's another topic I've opened this door on, and I know I'm going to want to talk about this more, especially when I hear from you and as I continue to grow in this. Let me know any comments or questions you have. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss the next video. Give me a thumbs up, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.